In this video, I will show you how easy it is to make handmade tortillas without baking powder from the ground up. Look how fluffy they are. There's absolutely no need for using baking powder, baking soda or anything else to make those fluff. They do it all by themselves with this simple recipe without baking powder. Welcome to Easy Tasty Food Recipes. I'm your everyday chef, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out too. If you like what you see here on the channel, then consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the next recipe. The recipe is super simple. The basic ingredients that you need is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3 teaspoons of olive oil, 3/4 cups of water, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, and some extra flour that you will be using when you are working with the dough. Optional, you can decide to spice up the dough a bit by throwing in some additional spices. And here I have some cumin and some smoked paprika. Also, you can decide to use some flourless oil that we're going to use in a very limited amount on the frying pan that we are going to use to prepare the tortillas. This recipe is for 8 tortillas with a medium-sized pan. Let's get on with the recipe. We start by adding the flour to the bowl. Then we are adding the salt. And we make sure that we mix that very well in here. So once that is mixed in, we will add the olive oil and the spices. And then make sure to incorporate those parts into the dough. Finally, we're adding the water. Then we're trying to mix everything together until we have everything incorporated nicely. Because the flour is a natural ingredient, the amount of liquid that you're going to use, that might differ. The dough seems a little bit dry, so we're adding 1/4 cup of water. Like this, to get the rest of the components nicely incorporated. So, don't worry if the dough is a little bit wet when it's inside the bowl. So, let's just give it a little bit more flour so it nicely releases like this. Okay, now it's time to remove it to the table. So we are just spraying a little bit of flour here, like that. Make sure that the dough is coated nicely with flour so it doesn't stick to your hands. And then it's time to work with the dough. So I keep folding it up like that, pushing it down. Just move this a bit. Easy to see what's going on here. And this process is needed, and it will take approximately 5 minutes to complete. And in case that you find that difficult to judge, then of course you can use the egg watch here and just simply put that on 5 minutes and then start doing the workout. It's very important because these are stretching the gluten strings inside the flour. So, 5 minutes is up. We simply just collect the dough here as a nice round ball. Then we just let it sit here on the kitchen table for around 10 minutes. So why do you want to make your own handmade tortillas, you might ask? And that's because they taste a whole lot better than the ones that you buy in the store. Plus, you know all the ingredients that you add to your own version. It's definitely worth the hassle if you have the extra time. Do you have another take on making homemade tortillas that you want to share with me and the audience? Then let us know in the comment below. So let's do the final preparation of the dough here and turn that into some delicious handmade tortillas. So now the process is pretty simple. We take our bun of dough here and we simply divide it into 8 equally sized pieces. Like that. And then we take each one here and roll it into a ball. Because we mixed in the spices, the dough will have a different color. But that is of course optional, and you can leave that out if you just want them plain. We drizzle on some flour here. Before we roll out the dough, we will start the stove, and this one needs to go to maximum because we need a lot of heat on the frying pan. That is around the size that we need for the medium-sized pan. Do another one. So now we're always ready to make the first one. Let's start by drizzling a little bit of oil on the pan. Just a little bit. And while we wait for that, we can prepare a few more. Because once we start doing these, you only have maybe 90 seconds between each one. It's heating up. It's still not hot enough. Because there's flour in between, we should be able to put them like that. And we simply just continue the process. So, I think we are there. So we can start by adding our first and cook our first tortilla. So let's start by using this one. We just simply add it like this on the pan. We make sure that it's... And it's around 45 to 90 seconds, depending on how powerful your stove is. As you can see, we don't need the baking powder. They will puff anyway, so that's absolutely unnecessary. Look at those. They look very delicious. And trust me, they are very delicious. So this was the first tortilla bread. Then let's do one more. A little bit of oil. Just circulate that. And then we are putting this one on. And we put them from this side. It's much easier to control. You do it like this. I did it a lot of ways, and I found that this was absolutely the easiest way to do it. Let's make one more here while we wait. One thing that you will not get when you make these yourself is you won't get them exactly the same size, but that's also a charm. So let's finish off these remaining three. Look at that. That is so beautiful. See, we can fold them up like nicely, like a... It's very easy and very uncomplicated to do these. So as I can see, I've used around, let's see how long the camera has been recorded, 50 minutes, including recording this video to make these homemade tortillas. Then you will probably squeeze the whole process down to maybe 30 minutes to make 8 tortillas. So this is sort of what you could expect if you are taking a deep dive into trying this delicious recipe. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then feel free to comment below and tell me what you think about this recipe. Maybe you have something else that you are doing when you are doing homemade tortillas from the bottom up. So let me know in the comment below. And of course, if you like what you saw, then feel free to give the video a like and maybe also consider subscribing so you don't miss out when I post the next recipe here on the channel. Now that's dinner.